Oh boy, did everybody get that? Hopefully they did, because I didn't hear it.
Yeah, me neither.
So welcome to Gloves Off. Today's date, I guess, is what, the 15th? So
Yeah,
this is Gloves
today's
Off.
like, yeah, 15.
Gloves Off with David Singer on September 15th. Happy 15th, everybody. The opinions of the host, guest, and any callers and anyone who comments are not representative of the opinion of Mr. Singer's employer or anyone associated with Gloves Off. Thank you for the disclaimer. As you can tell today, I don't have any guests, which actually is kind of interesting. Liam, who now we bought a camera. There he is. There's my tech guy. Is here. He's going to help out. He's going to make comments when he wants to make comments. We're going to let him. We gave him a microphone and a camera because I'm sure he's going to have some interesting comments to make during the show. Today we're going to be going through the budget, the Village Palmetto Bay budget. Hopefully I'll have enough time to get through the whole thing because it is a complete disaster. I have literally been looking at budgets for the last over 35 years because I'm a CPA, and I've never seen a budget that is as bad as this budget. And I'll tell you why as I go through it.
What
but
is
before,
this, what is this budget for? Like
this is the annual budget.
Annual budget
For Village Palmetto Bay, and it is a disaster. But before we do it, let's go through some cleanup. Let's go through some Karen Cunningham comments and real quick, and I'm just curious if I can hear them. So I guess Gina, can you do me a favor and play the first video?
Going to be of great importance to the community is an additional police officer. And is there an additional police officer in this budget?
No.
Wait, Gina, we may have to have you. Hey, everybody, how you doing? We may have to have you play that over again because I couldn't hear it and I want to discuss it. And I'm not 100% sure.
It's going to be of great importance to the community is an additional police officer. And is there an additional police officer in this budget?
No.
No, not headphones. God. Yeah, because usually it's the speakers.
Okay, so anyway, as you can tell, we can't hear it on our end. So let's skip that. Let's get into, hopefully Liam can fix that. Let's get into a text message that I received from Mayor Cunningham prior to me starting the show. And while I do that, Liam will try to fix the sound, or I'll have to break his legs. Anyway, so this is the text I got. It's Mayor Cunningham. I'm incredibly proud of our record uniting our community to fight irresponsible overdevelopment and keep Palmetto Bay safe. Over the past 3 years, we've accomplished so much, but now my opponent using DC tactics to spread misinformation and divide our community, divide our village, turning neighbor against neighbor. Let's get our facts straight and keep moving forward. Okay, number one is she has voted for every single apartment complex that has gone up in Palmetto Bay over the last 5 years. She voted for the rezoning, which permits the apartment complexes to go up in the last 5 years. Why don't you ask her when you contact her, okay, how many apartments that have been built and developed, okay, that she has voted for? And I'm going to tell you right now, if it isn't 9 out of 10, I would be shocked. So she's basically misinforming everybody and lying to everybody. Lying to everybody again. It's unbelievable that she would send this out. She would send this out to everybody. And it's basically, once again, it's misinformation from her. She literally has voted for every single new development. And a matter of fact, she voted for one of the largest developments. That's the one that's that was planned for right across from the Palmetto Bay Park. She voted for this huge development that they eventually decided not to build because it was too expensive. So have we got the sound fixed yet, my man? No, my man's still working on it.
It's not recognizing the device at all.
Oh God, that's terrible. And I got so many videos to show. See, this is what happens when I don't have guests. Give us a second. Let's see if we can follow. See if we can. Do you want to show the video of Gina? You want to show the video of the Cowardly Lion video? Because that one I know already. So you can pop that up.
Hi, I'm Steve Cody. It's election season in Palmetto Bay, so I've asked my old friend Jeremy to join me in this video. Jeremy, it's been a long time. How are you?
It's only been 2 years. I'm doing great. The last time we got together we talked about David Singer. You beat David Singer in 2020.
And he got a time out.
For 4 years. You did a good job, Mr. Cody.
Well, I want to talk to you about David Singer again. Him and Gene Flynn.
Gene Flynn seems like he's stuck to Singer. It's weird.
Weird how?
Watch this clip of Singer and Gene Flynn.
You are lying constantly to me, okay? Do me a favor. If that goes anywhere, I'm going to sue you, okay? Tell me right now.
David Singer is a bully, and Gene Flynn lets him get away with it.
What would you have done, Jeremy?
You gotta stand up to bullies, like I did with a bully at my school, and like you did when you beat David Singer. It doesn't matter if the bully is a stranger, or a friend, or even somebody in your family. You gotta have courage.
So you're saying that Gene Flynn
Doesn't have any courage. I don't think he ever has. And I don't think he ever will. I don't think he should be mayor again.
I agree. Gene Flynn shouldn't be mayor again. Thanks for stopping by, Jeremy. You are a bright young man.
Thanks, Mr. Cody. This was fun. Let's do it again.
Okay. Anyway, so I couldn't hear the video, but the reason I'm playing that again, and I played it last week, is because this is a guy who now has 90 days to move out of his house. His house is officially foreclosed on. He's got 90 days to move out. He's a sitting council member who just voted to raise taxes to the highest level in Palmetto Bay history, and he's hasn't paid taxes in 8 years. This is somebody that Karen Cunningham backed, which shows that she's not in touch with the village residents at all. She backed him because I disagreed with her on numerous development projects that were going on in Palmetto Bay. I disagreed with her on the budget. They tried to pass a budget last year that I thought was out of line with what the village residents wanted. So the last year I was in office. So she found this guy who, once again, has 90 days to move out of his house. His house is going to be sold on the steps of the courthouse in 90 days, apparently, because his last appeal got turned down. He's a total mess. I do the show because the direction of the village simply isn't good. The bozo, Mr. Cody, represents us, and to have the current council member, these type of insulting videos demeans us and makes us look silly. To see the current mayor, who endorses and helps him get elected, remain silent for her part of this classless problem we have in face. I just, it's insane. Can we show the video where she tells all the residents, and I don't need to listen to this one, I have this one already memorized, where she tells all the village residents that she's going to hire a police officer? Can we show that video of her?
Going to be of great importance to the community is an additional police officer. And is there an additional police officer in this budget?
No, ma'am.
Okay, that's fine.
People can hear it.
Okay, so she went out and she told all the residents that she was going to hire a new police officer with this new improved budget. By the way, when she asked the manager said, "No, we're not hiring any new police officers. We don't have the money for it." So she put out a video that she was going to hire new police officers, which she can't do. She didn't talk to any of the council members. She did the video before the vote for the budget. Once again, it's basically what she did actually is an ethics violation. I'd be surprised if anybody doesn't file an ethics violation against her. She can't sit there and promise stuff without it at first going in front of the council for a council vote. She's 1 in 5 council members. Her vote doesn't mean any different than any of the other council members who voted. She put herself out there, and as you heard in the video, the village manager basically said, "No, we're not hiring any more police officers. You're wrong," and takes care of that. And she also did another video where she was on video where she basically said that crime has only upticked a little. That's what she said. Her exact words is crime upticked a little. Well, that was after 7 assaults last month. Now, I don't think if you got assaulted and you called the police that you would consider it you could consider the assault an uptick of a little bit. Okay. Those people deserve a little bit more attention than she's giving them. Crime in Palmetto Bay has not upticked a little. Crime in Palmetto Bay has gone up a lot. And we just had 4 officers retire from the village of Palmetto Bay, which means we have less officers on the street, and they have still not filled the vacancies of those 4 officers, although they do have their payroll budgeted in our budget. So what are we going to do today? We're going to go through the budget. Let's talk about a couple of things.
I probably have a few questions.
You have a few questions? Okay, the first question, the first interesting fact, okay, would be, oh, by the way, once again, I have nobody here with me. This is all going to be done by myself. In 2017, we had 53 employees. 2023, we are budgeted for 71 employees. In 4 years, that is an increase of 34% in staff. I don't think Village of Palmetto Bay has increased that much that we need a 34% increase in staff. And by the way, that does not include police officers. The 2023 budget has over $1 million in new payroll costs. Meanwhile, the village manager in the budget, by the way, this is the budget right here that I've gone through. It's a mess. The 2023 budget has over $1 million in new payroll costs and expenses. Meanwhile, the village manager has written in the budget that there will be a hiring freeze in 2023. So does that mean that all these employees that we have, the 71, are all getting new pay increases? I mean, over $1 million in increases in payroll costs. As much as I like the village manager, and I really do, and I respect him for being in the military, this budget was definitely prepared by somebody who was in the federal government or in the military, because there appears to be an unlimited amount of money coming from residents in Palmetto Bay, just like when the military used to spend $5,000 for a toilet seat or a hammer. The village of Palmetto Bay residents don't want that. They want a smaller government. They want parks taken care of. They want police, okay, and they want infrastructure. They don't want the nonsense that's in the budget right now. The budget when I left 2 years ago, I think we were down to somewhere around $16 million. The new budget is around $19 million in Palmetto Bay. It's a $2 million increase in the last couple of years. It actually could have been less than 17. It could have been, 16. I'll get to that in a second. This kind of spending is not supposed to happen at the local level. If you are if you are into fiscal responsibility, you should be aghast by what's going on. The budget projects $17.37 million in revenues, which is an increase in over $2 million in additional taxes to residents. That's $2 million in 1 year. Okay, the village is running a deficit because the overall budget is $18.17 million. That deficit, which is $1.5 million, is covered by federal funding. Federal funding that's not supposed to go to operations. Federal funding that's supposed to help enhance some of the capital structure in Palmetto Bay. Once that federal funding runs out this year, what's going to happen is we are going to have to raise taxes for a 3rd year in a row. Okay, we're going to have to cover that $1.5 million next year because there won't be any federal funding. Let me tell you something. I was watching a budget hearing, and Bev Gerald, who loves to tax and spend, actually walked up there, and she was against the increase in taxes for the local residents. She made a comment that her taxes are maybe $3,000 to $4,000, but people that three households, 3 new people that moved into on her street are now paying over $10,000 a year in taxes. What we're doing in Palmetto Bay is pricing people out younger families out of coming to Palmetto Bay. So it's absolutely ridiculous with what's going on with FP&L increases and insurance increases. Increases are going everywhere. The fact of the matter is, we should not be spending this much money. And when I get into the actual budget, which I will in a couple seconds because I have page by page, it's insane. The mayor lied numerous times during the budget hearing. One was when she said there was not a maintenance fund. That's why we had to increase taxes. There is a maintenance fund, and the maintenance fund has exactly $2.2 million currently sitting in it. She said that literally we have to increase taxes because there is no maintenance fund. We've always had a maintenance fund. She had no idea what she's talking about, okay? And it has $2 million. I'm sorry if I'm talking too much about numbers, but that's what today's for. Numbers don't lie, politicians do, okay? And the fact of the matter is we have people on the council right now that have no financial experience. I didn't always get along with John Dubois, but John Dubois and I went through every single budget, page by page by page, to find out where the waste was. Okay, John Dubois would have never let what's happened this year happen if he was still vice mayor. You got people on there. You got Patrick Fiore, who voted for the budget this year. The guy never looks at numbers because he doesn't understand numbers. You got the mayor on this year on the council, of course. She doesn't know anything about numbers. She was a kindergarten teacher. You got Steve Cody, who's on the council this year. He has no clue because he can't even control his own checkbook. His house is in foreclosure. Who is looking out for the residents of Palmetto Bay on that council right now? I mean, Marsha Matson at least wanted to set the numbers back to what they were last year, which I still think were too high as far as the real estate taxes, and she got turned down. I mean, and I'm not even sure she knows numbers. You got nobody out there on the council right now who knows numbers, okay, and can protect the residents from wasteful spending. It just doesn't happen because they look at the budget and they're completely lost. Once again, Patrick is a great guy. I like Patrick, but he's never opened up a budget in his life and understood it. I used to sit next to him at the council meetings. He never even opened up his monthly reports to see what was coming up. He comes in, he gets a check, he gets insurance, and then he leaves. That's the only reason he wants a position there, is to subsidize his life. Karen doesn't understand numbers. If she did, she'd probably teach first grade instead of kindergarten, but that's the way it is, okay? And we all know about Steve Cody. He's a disaster. The guy's a disaster. 90 days, he's not even going to be allowed to be on the council because he's not even going to be living in Palmetto Bay. I mean, there's serious issues in Palmetto Bay right now. Let's see, what else? Oh, the federal funding, the ARPA money. We're using $1.3 million, okay, to subsidize operating expenses for the village. Now, let me ask you a question. Think about this, Seth. You're getting a grant for $1.3 million. You're increasing expenditures for $1.3 million or $1.4 million. What happens to the village of Palmetto Bay next year when the ARPA money runs out? Who's going to make up the $1.4 million difference? We are. We, the residents, are. You know why? Because the council does not know what they're doing. What else do I got? The PR for the village is costing the PR for the village. It's not even for the village. The PR for Karen Cunningham is costing residents $250,000 every year. I mean, come on. Village residents don't want to sit there and pay $250,000 so Karen can do selfies and she can put herself out there. I mean, that's not what $250,000. People don't make that in a year. I mean, the average income probably in Palmetto Bay is $120,000, and she's spending $250,000 on PR and for the village. Come on, let's get serious here. Okay, let's talk some more bullet points.
Well, I'm wondering
Yeah.
how many of those new employees that they hired are actually doing stuff.
Oh, I don't know, but what you tell me why we need that many? And by the way, one this is so great. You have two different sheets of paper here. One sheet of paper, it says that we have 47 full-time employees, okay, in the budget, and the next one we have 71 employees. They can't even get their numbers right. This is the same budget.
The same budget.
This is the same budget. Look, it says this one right here. It says position summary: 47 employees. Then this graph, it says 71 employees. I mean, this is a joke. This is an absolute joke. Anyway, so let's keep going.
Oh my God.
The budget's a joke. Okay. It's disrespectful to the residents. It's disrespectful to every hardworking person that lives in Palmetto Bay. It's just awful. The mayor claims that she lowered taxes from 2.4 to 2.35. Okay. But she also increased taxes from last year by $615,000. That's an 8% increase. And it's not the whole story. The last administration that I was on, we got rid of the FP&L franchise fee and she brought it back. That's the 1.5. That's also a 1.5 million. It's just crazy. The tax rate increase, if you take those two numbers, it's an 18% tax hike this year. 18%. We'd have to raise our tax rate to 2.8 for the real story here. I already talked about this. In reviewing the budget, the first thing is in 4 years, they went from 58 employees to 71 employees. What services have increased 25% to have that many new employees? I mean, what are they doing in Palmetto Bay that they have 71 employees now and people are still complaining about services? I mean, when they had, the 46 employees, people weren't complaining as much as now. The potholes were getting fixed. The parks looked a lot better. The parks are a disaster. You guys have all seen pictures of the parks. I mean, what have they done to increase the budget by this amount of money? Okay. And this amount of employees, and even once again, going back to his notes, he says there's no new hires. How do you have 71 employees on a budget when your statement in the budget says, oh, we're not going to hire anybody? Last year, how many employees did they have? 53. They had 53 employees last year. So when you say you're not going to increase the budget, literally, how are not going to increase employees? How do you go from 53 to 71? When you make the statement, I'm not increasing. That's why this budget's a disaster. A 4-year-old could have done a better job on this budget. Seriously. I already talked the maintenance fund. The budgets are roadmaps and represent the direction the village is undertaking for the following year. However, the mayor and her team budget means little older than the facts that they want more hard-earned dollars for their coffers. I mean, from her administration, her manager, there is a direct administration that what's promised in her budget isn't reality. Let's see what this says. I don't know. I mean, it's just all spin. I mean, everything they do is spin, tax, and I'll take selfies and I'll trick all the residents to thinking I'm a good mayor, because that's what it comes down to. I mean, I don't know who does the PR for the village of Palmetto Bay, but Hitler should have used that person. Who's the PR guy that Hitler used? Maybe they can dig him up.
Yeah.
It wasn't Goring. It was somebody else. It was.
He did a Triumph of the Will.
Yeah, I mean, whatever it was. I mean, that's how bad this PR is. The budget sets aside funding for the much anticipated Veterans Park. It only has one small glitch. We don't own the land. They lied. They lied about Veterans Park. We don't own the lands. And what are we setting? We're setting aside $2 million for Veterans Park. And the village of Palmetto Bay does not even own the land. Okay. This is a glaring example of her overpromising and not delivering and lying. And the lying is out of control. Ironically, this group can't even maintain what we have alone, build something new, and throw money at the site which they still don't have ownership over. I mean, they've been lying about Veterans Park. This is Veterans Park. They've been lying about Veterans Park for the last 4 years. Oh, we're going to get Veterans Park. We're going to get Veterans Park. Well, guess what? The only way we get Veterans Park is to permit the developer from building new apartments.
Wait, who owns Veterans Park?
Veterans Park's owned by a developer. They were supposed to donate Veterans Park to us. It's never been donated to us. Never. So, but they got some hearing coming up where in front of the council where they want to build something. I don't know what they want to build, but they want to build something. It's all backroom BS. Let's see, what else do we have here? And then we're going to start going over the budget because I'm going to throw up pages. Because if you guys think I'm nuts, I have all the information here. I'm going to throw up the pages. We're going to talk about each page. Okay, one example of this horrible mismanagement of our budget. The proposed village attorney's budget is $500,000. Okay, and I don't even think that's enough. I don't even think that's enough. We have so many lawsuits in Palmetto Bay that $500,000 isn't enough. It was, what was it last year? Well, we'll go into that too, because I have last year's versus this year. It was 376,000. Now it's going up to 453. And once again, I'm sorry I'm talking about numbers, but this is important for the residents to know. The residents are getting screwed because nobody is fiscally responsible on that council. And the village manager, as much as I like him, because I really do like him, came from the federal government. And the federal government knows how to tax and spend better than anybody else. So you give him a book, he's going to say, I need this, I need this, I need this, I need this. And that's what his job is. But the council's job is to sit there and go, why do you need this? Why do you need that? Why do you need to spend money here? Why do you spend money there? And they're oblivious. They have no clue. They just don't. Let's see what else. Oh, when I left office, the attorney costs were $125,000. Now they're almost $500,000. I know this is a lot to take in. I'm going to put it in emails and send out major emails, and I'm going to show those videos next week when we get the sound working, because those are all jokes. She's just out of control. You have to ask yourself, even with all these tax increases, are the revenue boosts, are we better off as a village? And the answer is no to me. Are we safer with less police on the road? No. Are we maintaining our parks as they should be? No. Are we keeping promises made in our budgets? No. Are we maintaining roads and improving traffic? That's definitely a no. Are we keeping development low, or are we adding development that will haunt us for years to come? No. Are we maintaining our village with dignity and class? Well, not with Cody. Not with Cody. Okay, the guy has no class. The guy's a complete loser, and complete utter loser. And he has no class. He also has no home. He also has no profession. He also has no law license. He also has no leg. Okay, and that
explains how he's able to do all those 3D renders.
Oh yeah, he sits around. All he does is sit around. That's exactly correct. All he does is sit around and figure out how to make fun of me and Flynn, which is fine because I actually appreciate it. Because you know what he does? He helps my show. Okay, so let's go through the individual. Let's go through the individual budgets. First page. I think Gina's going to sit there. Oh, by the way, if anybody has any questions, please let me know. Okay, so this is the first screen. This is in a budget. It says 47 employees, 2022 to 2023. Okay, let's go to the next screen. Please. Oh. Okay, can people hear me when you're throwing this up?
Yeah.
Okay, they can't hear me. Let me know if anybody can't hear me while you're throwing these up. Okay, so this is the next screen where it says new employees are 71 employees. Okay, if you look at 16 and 17, they were 53 employees. Now there's 71 employees. If you looked at 2021 to 2022, they were 53 employees. I mean, this is just crazy. Oh, I'm sorry, there were 66 employees. And now there's 71 employees. So they got 5 new employees coming in. Oh, look at that. In 2016 and 2017, because I'm looking at the barcode, there were only 30 employees. So between 16 and 23, they have added 41 employees to the Village of Palmetto Bay. 41 full-time employees of Palmetto Bay. What has improved since 16 and 17, folks? What's improved? You're paying a crap load more in taxes. What has the village done to improve your life, okay, in the last 6 years that they have to add from 30 to 71 employees? And by the way, you're paying for those employees through your taxes. You're paying through those for those employees through a hidden tax that's in the FP&L bill. That's who's paying for it. So you can sit there and you can have a huge, okay, government in Palmetto Bay, one that we don't want. I've never heard anybody say in the village of Palmetto Bay, any resident say, I want a bigger government. This is what Karen Cunningham has brought to the village of Palmetto Bay. And by the way, she has been on the council not only 4 years as mayor, but she was on the council for 4 years as a councilman in District 1. So she can't look back and tell everybody, oh, well, all that stuff that happened years ago wasn't my fault, because she sat there. She sat there and voted for everything. She voted for all the apartments. She's voted for every single budget. Okay. She's never once not voted against a tax increase. This is the mayor of Palmetto Bay. Tax and spend because she doesn't understand numbers. Okay, let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, this is actually really quickly because I have all these highlighted. And by the way, if anybody wants to talk to me about the budget, I am more than happy to talk to anybody about the budget. You can reach me at 305-903-3700, 305-903-3700. Okay, operating expenses. This is operating expenses. In 2020 to 2021, personnel services were $5.7 million. That's 2 years ago. Personnel services now are $7,500,000. Okay, that's just personnel. Okay, and what they're doing is they're saying, oh, but we actually had it budgeted for $7 million. They didn't spend that $7 million. They only spent 5.7. They're working the budget off the prior budget instead of the prior actual, which is the way budgets are supposed to be built. They're trying to fool you folks, and they're doing a good job. Operating expenses in 2020 to 2021 was $12,500,000. Operating expenses in 22 to 23 is $16 million. That's a $4 million increase. Total operating expenses between personal services and operating expenses is $18 million. Guess what it is this budgeted for this year? $24 million. I mean, these increases can't go on. Nobody's going to be able to live in Palmetto Bay. Nobody new is going to be able to live there anyway. Total expenditures, okay, including principal and interest and debt, was $21 million in 20 to 21. It's gone up $10 million in 2 years. $10 million. It's projected for $31,500,000. Numbers don't lie, folks. Politicians lie. Karen Cunningham lies. Steve Cody lies.
That's the most surprising.
Is that unbelievable?
Yeah,
$10 million in 2 years?
No, because that's almost half of the budget. It's like they added on half of the 2020.
Oh, no, they don't know what they're
itself.
doing. I'm telling you, the fact of the matter is, once again, the guy, the village manager, and I don't blame him. He comes from the federal government where money flows out of a tap. Okay, seriously, the federal government wastes millions and millions and millions of dollars because they got billions and billions of dollars coming in. This is a small community with 26,000 residents, and you're going to increase the budget by $10 million over 2 years? I mean, I got to tell you something. If anybody votes for Karen Cunningham, they are nuts, okay? If you do anything, you don't like the candidates, just don't vote at all. But you're going to sit there and let this lady, okay, who voted for this budget get reelected and increase our expenditures in the village by $10 million over 2 years? Okay, can we get the next slide?
Wow.
Okay, I've already hit this one, but ad valorem taxes were in 2020 to 2021 were $6,800,000. They've raised your taxes for the 2022 to 2023 budget to $8,400,000. So that's that's $1,800,000, I think. No, 1,600,000. I'm sorry, I'm doing this in my head. ARPA funding, the only reason we can actually, we have a deficit. The only reason we can actually get this thing to budget is they're taking money that's not supposed to go to operating expenses of village, 1.4 million, and that's how we're covering the deficit because they don't know how to control their expenses. Parks and Recreation. Here, I'm just going to throw some numbers out there. So Parks and Recreation, which, by the way, parks look terrible. They looked a lot better 6 years ago. The budget was 2,000,001. Their budget now is 3,000,004. Okay, you tell me what has happened. Okay, seriously, in the last 2 years to sit there and raise taxes. That's 40% increase in expenses for park and recreation. What's happened? What has happened that we're spending 1,000,004, okay, which is a 50% increase, basically, in park and recreation's operating expenses over 2 years ago. I mean, I would go even the village manager's office. It went from 335,000 to 442 with no new employees. The general government, okay, went from 700,000 to 1,000,001 over 2 years. How the hell does that happen? Okay, next screen, please. Thanks. And I'm really sorry once again that I'm taking all these numbers because I know people don't like numbers because it makes for a really boring show, but it is what it is. Okay, this is the parks. I got this parks. And the only reason I'm throwing this up here is so people don't think, because people come out and say, oh my, Singer's making up numbers. This is actually off their budget. This is what the council members were given the other day, and there was no conversations about why did this go up? Why did that go up? You know, there was nothing. They all just sat there and they looked at it and go, okay, we'll just pass the tax increase and we'll take the ARPA money and we'll take the money that the money that you could have saved on your FP&L bill while FP&L has increased their rates to waste money. They must think that they found the goose that laid the golden egg.
Either that or they just don't care.
They don't care. As long as Karen's taking selfies, what does she care? And as long as Patrick's getting his $1,000 a month in his health insurance coverage, what does he care? And as long as Steve Cody, you know, is whatever he's doing, God knows what he's doing. He's got $1,000. That's about the only money he has coming in. What does he care? I mean, the only one to ask any questions, and I don't personally like her, was Marsha Matson. She's the only one that asked questions, and it annoyed the other four. Anyway, okay, so this is the parks.
Wow. Parks
2 years ago, apparently the actuals were $15 million for expenditures. This is 2 years. You ready? $15 million 2 years ago. They have budgeted $19 million, $4 million increase. Tell me, what have we done to increase $4 million worth of expenses in our parks? I'm sorry. I get frustrated because this is what I do for a living, and it's just embarrassing. It is absolutely embarrassing the way this village is being run. And there's not one person on the council that deserves to be reelected because they don't know what they're doing. And they're not sitting out there looking for the residents' best interests. Okay, what else do we got? Oh, this next slide. Summary of fund balances. You got the next slide up?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out which one this is. I think this is the operating fund. I think the operating fund, we were spending capital outlay. I'm sorry, capital outlay. This is what this one is. It was $1.5 million 2 years ago. It's $7 million this year. They're planning on spending $7 million, okay, on capital projects. I mean, you know, and I bet you they didn't even bid it out. I bet you it went to somebody who's donated money to Karen Cunningham. Literally, if you look, if somebody, we're going to talk about this next week. We're going to take Karen's campaign reports. Look at Karen's campaign reports if you don't think she's pro-development. She's got so many contributions from developers in her campaign contribution report. We're going to go through it one line item by line item. Okay, she's got campaign contributions from the developers that build apartments. All these big, huge apartment complexes. That's where her money's coming from.
Jeez.
Because she never turned them down. Okay, let's see. Next one.
That's probably the biggest increase of all.
Okay, we don't need this one. This is basically a chart. You guys should pull this up. This is general fund budgeted and historical revenues by source. So this basically shows we got all this money in 21 through the ARPA funds. One of those is ARPA money, and we're spending it this year to cover our deficit. Next one. Ooh, fun. This is basically a sheet that says how much they raise taxes. Taxes, and I already discussed this. Taxes were ad valorem taxes. That's your real estate taxes were 6.6 million or 6.7 million. This year, they're 8.3. Last year, I think they were 7.6. So there's, if you look at the first number, taxes went up 615,000. I'm sorry, 16,000. I wish it was 16,000. $615,000. I mean, I'm telling you, everybody's going to sit there and say, Singer's making this stuff up. Singer's making this stuff up. He's making it up just to make Karen Cunningham and Steve Cody and whoever on the council and Patrick and everybody on the council look bad. I'm not making this up. This was directly printed from the village of Palmetto Bay. And this would have never happened if I was up there or if John Dubois was up there. You know why? Because we actually understood numbers and understood how things worked. And what really gets me upset with John Dubois, and I like John Dubois a lot, is he's given Karen Cunningham so much money to sit there and remain on the council. It's disgusting. He's raised all kinds of money from her, and he knows she is a financial disaster. I'm surprised that she's not in bankruptcy too, the way she helps run this. Okay, next sheet. She is so pro-development, it's unbelievable. You got it? The next sheet, the next slide. Gina. Oh, there we go. Okay. So this shows the electric franchise fee. When that $1.5 million, when I was in office, we voted to eliminate it. So you wouldn't get hit with a franchise fee on your electrical bill. So what happened is the year after we left, guess what they did? They voted to bring it back. Okay. So along with the franchise fee, every single resident during this time of what are we in, right? I can never understand. Inflation, right?
Inflation, yeah.
Inflation right now has to pay a fee that we voted to get rid of. So when you're looking at your bill, because FP&L just raised rates, look at your franchise fee and see what you're paying on a monthly basis. That was not, and I don't care if it's hamburger or a pizza or whatever else. That fee was voted. We voted to get rid of that fee. And guess what? They voted to put the fee back for 30 years. 30 years, not 1 year, not 2 years. They voted to put the fee back 30 years. So 30 years, we're going to be getting that $1.5 million. The residents were supposed to be given that break. Next one's code violations.
Oh my God.
Anyway, I thought this was funny because Steve Cody got hit with a $5,000 code violation, and they've never collected it from him. So maybe they should, while they're paying him the $1,000 and they're paying for his insurance, they should collect the $5,000 back from them. Apparently, they're not going to give code violations anymore because in 2000, if you look at this, in 2020, okay, they collected $104,000. So I guess they're not going to go and try to collect code violations from Cody, who owes $5,000.
Wait, what exactly are code violations?
Code violations are basically if something like if you cut down a tree or if you put a fence up without a permit, whatever you do to your house, okay, that's not legally allowed, you get a code violation. Cody got a code violation before he was even elected, and they just ignored it. The village attorney didn't even, try to collect it from him. He owes the village $5,000 for a couple years now, 3 years, 4 years, while he's collecting a check. Now, let me ask you a question. If you owed your employer money, would he be giving you a check?
No.
No, exactly.
He would be
But
sending
welcome
him a
to
check.
Palmetto Bay.
What the hell?
Okay, so let's go general government services. I think we addressed this already. The next slide. Oh, maybe that's, can we flip it? No, it's the next one. Yeah, the next one after that. This is just charts and graphs. Okay, so general government services is going from $2 million actual to $3 million. Okay, it's $1 million increase. But what's funny is what they want you to think is it's budget versus budget. Okay, so if they budgeted too much money last year, but they came in a lot less, okay, they reduce the difference. They shouldn't be doing it that way. What they should be doing, okay, which is the normal operating way to do it, or the normal financial accounting way to do it, is do it budget versus actual, because you could have spent less. Okay. But if you sit there and you put adopted budget on there, it makes the difference between the budget and the budget less money, where if they're spending less money. But if you do it actual versus budget, that actually shows you the truth. They don't want to show you the truth. Okay. That's the problem with Palmetto Bay. They are hiding information from you, and unless you read financial statements and understand budgets, you'll never catch on. They are lying to everybody, but they're doing it in a technical way. Anyway, so the actual in 2021 was $2 million. The new proposed budget is $2.8 million. Public safety, the actual was $8 million. The new budget is $9.7 million. And by the way, that's that increase doesn't even include any additional police officers. No additional police officers. So I guess all the police are getting economic development went from 360,000 to 500,000. Public services went from 482 to 556. I mean, you got to look at this stuff. Here's a great one. County transportation system surcharge went from $99,000 to $1,182,000. I don't even know what that is. I have no earthly clue to what that is, but it's $1 million line item. By the way, they said the increase is 81%. You know why? Because they were looking at the budget from last year. They weren't looking at actual. There's a column out here that says increase. Next one. Oh, this one is the same one, I think. Hold on, wait. Let me catch up to you.
The county transportation system
Where-
surtax.
Where am I? I need to catch up. Okay, keep going. Keep going, Gina. Gina's great about this. And that Gina, by the way, it's not my ex-wife. It's somebody who works for the company. Not my company. Not the company I work for.
No relation.
No relation.
Yeah.
Okay, what do we got? Public safety. I think we talked. Public safety went from 200 to 3 million. I don't even understand any of this. How do you go from 200,000 to? Does that say 3 million?
Yeah, that says 3 million. Is that for like the police? What is public safety?
I don't know. Like I said, the budgets don't make any sense at all. It was 200,000, and nobody asked that question. That's what kills me. Nobody asked a question. They're looking through this. They're going through the budget, and they didn't say, "Hey, why did public safety go from 200,000 to 3,000,001?" I mean, if you were going through a budget, wouldn't you highlight that and say why? Why?
Because like the thing is, I saw that there was a police item right back there. So what is public safety? Is that like?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. You want to keep going, Gina? Here's some more salaries. I don't know. Maybe they're screwing around with something, because they have salaries of 0 projected at 200,000. They have general services of 0 projected at $550,000. I mean, this is all public safety. I mean, I'm all for police officers. Believe me, I wish we had more police officers. If you're going to sit there and raise taxes, at least put more police on the streets, because then there'd be less violent crime in Palmetto Bay, which, once again, per Karen Cunningham, is only upticked a little. Only upticked a little. Okay, keep going. No, keep going after that. Keep going. I don't know. I don't know what some of these are. I knew what they were when I print them out, but I don't know what they are now. So let's go through. Do we have any more slides? Any more? Bueller. Anyway, this village is really just degraded to such an extent that I always said, if it was going to get this bad, we should go back to Dade County. I don't even think Dade County would take us right now, because they dislike the village so much. There's nobody on the Dade County Commission that has any respect for Karen Cunningham. 0. Or the village of Palmetto Bay, because we've sued them twice. They don't even want to see the mayor there. I mean, you gotta play nice and with your parent and she just doesn't care. I mean, we sued them over the bridge. We sued them over a circle that they were supposed to build. I mean, it's just so exhausting. Guys, I don't like doing this any more than you like to listen to me, literally. But something has to be done to change the environment in Palmetto Bay. It has deteriorated to such a degree. Okay, once again, none of these people should get elected. You need to get some professionals on that council, people that have financial experience, people that have somewhat real estate experience. I mean, get somebody on there besides a soccer mom. And I don't mean to disparage a soccer mom, but they usually don't have any financial experience. Nobody on that council is looking out for the residents' best interest when it comes to financials. And like I said, village manager, great guy, but he's used to working for the U.S. government, where you don't have to sit there and count nickels and dimes. But these nickel and dimes mean a lot to the village residents. I got a couple other ones. Human resources and communication was $262,000. Okay, it's gone up to $500,000. That's a 50% increase.
Oh.
Okay. Total expenditures and that, by the way, that's just staff. That's paying staff. So I guess staff is getting raises of $250,000. The whole department went from $346,000 to $710,000. That's human resources. That's double, folks. That's not 5% or 10% or 15%. That's double in 2 years. Let's flip through some more of these.
This is like the kind of
I mean, this is enough to sit there and get and vote to get them all out of office.
Yeah.
I mean, I would, you know what? Recall them all out of office because they're in so far over their head. And you know what's happening? It's hurting the residents. Residents can't afford to pay for gas now, and they're taxing them, and they're taxing us to death. Attorney's office 2 years ago was 376. This year it's 453. And that's by the way, that 376 was litigation reserve. I mean, it's just and that's just because the village brings on litigation every time they open their mouths because they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what the law is. And they have a crappy village attorney who's so worried about losing his job that he doesn't tell them the truth. He sits there and shades everything to protect his job. Village manager's office, as I discussed before, it was 334. That's 1,000. This is personnel, by the way, and it's going up to $429,000. I guess it's expensive to live down in the Keys. I mean,
Oh my God.
no, but in all honesty, his wages were 218, or the wages were 218, and they're going up to 299. That's a 30% increase.
That's
That's
more of a raise
wages.
than like
Yeah.
most people see in their lives.
I mean, seriously. I mean, that's crazy.
Jesus.
Let's see what else. I mean, this actually you start after you start going through these, you start laughing because it's so unbelievable. Okay, finance department. The finance department who put this budget together, which I'd freaking fire everybody, okay, if they work for me. Their salaries were $279. They're going up to $387.
Oh my God.
$279,000 to $387,000. What in the hell did they do to deserve that? The whole finance department is $451,000, and it's going up to $600,000. That's $150,000 difference. Okay, and some of these are, I'm telling you, this is like that may be 2 years, but that's still incredible.
It's amazing because like every budget increase you've like read off here is it's not like an increase of $10,000.
Oh no, we're not talking about
It's
10%
not
increases. I could get into 10% increases, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about millions and millions of
30%.
dollars being wasted. Here,
Yeah.
planning and zoning is $91,000. Planning and zoning is going for $255,000. That's salaries. Now, let me ask you a question. Karen Cunningham has stopped all kinds of zoning. Okay, She has told her zoning department not to look at anything until after the election because she doesn't want any bad news to come out before the election. She's given a direct order that they have to turn down everything, okay, until the election's over. No, don't even look at it, right? Because I know somebody who's going to file 2 lawsuits against the village because they turned down zoning, okay? How the hell can it go from 91,000 to 225 and nobody ask a question? I only got a couple more minutes, guys, so bear with me. I'm sorry you've had to go through this. Let's see. And like I said, I have spent hours upon hours upon hours going through this. I probably spent more money or more time going through this than any council member. I assure you the council members didn't go through this budget like I did. Why? Because they don't care. They don't care. It's your tax dollars. It's your tax dollars out there. They don't care about your tax dollars. Patrick Fiore said he would never vote for a tax increase in his life. Guess what he did? He voted for a tax increase. Shame on you, Patrick. Shame on you. You swore to God, you made a promise, okay, that you were never going to vote for a tax increase. And you voted for a tax increase 2 years in a row. You don't deserve to be reelected, Patrick. I am looking at the camera. Okay.
Just making sure.
Personnel services, $518,000 to $758,000. Salary and wages went from, in that whole line item, went from $337,000 to $509,000. The Lotta Park, I love this. The Lotta Park expenses went from $226,000 to $463,000. $262,000 to $463,000. Okay, let's give them a break because the Lotta Park wasn't publicly used during COVID. Okay, so maybe that's why expenses went from $262,000 to $463,000. This is your money, folks. If you want to save your money, don't vote for these clowns. Ludovici Park went from $131,000 to $183,000. Car Reef Tennis went from $253,000 to $320,000. The total expenses for parks went from $2,100,000 to $3,400,000. What are they doing? The parks look like crap. I can show you more pictures of the parks. Public transportation went from 1.4 to 2,200,000. Anyway, I've wasted enough of my time. I mean, how much money is Karen putting in her pocket? I don't know. That's a good question. You know, it's the fact that it may not be the fact that she's putting any money in her pocket. It's just the fact that she just doesn't understand how running a business. And let me tell you something. Government is a business. You know, it's an amenity and it's a business. And you got to protect the residents. And nobody is protecting our residents. Nobody on the council. The person who said they were going to protect the residents, Patrick, okay, voted for tax increases. The only one protecting, and she still voted, she voted no against the budget. So that's a good thing. She actually voted no against the budget, was Marsha Matson. Okay, and Marsha Matson actually brought forward a proposition to lower to reduce the taxes to last year's amount and not increase taxes this year. And guess what? They still voted 4-1 to increase taxes. And the worst person in this is Steve Cody, because he doesn't even pay any taxes. Do the residents of Palmetto Bay, and I'm going to finish this up really quickly, do the residents of Palmetto Bay want somebody whose house is foreclosed on, who hasn't paid taxes in 8 years, voting to increase the taxes that you have to pay? They don't. They don't. They don't want somebody who does not have skin in the game to sit there and vote to increase the taxes. And that's exactly what Cody did. And let me tell you something, 90 days when he's out of his house, I expect the village attorney to sit there and put that position up for re-election. Somebody with some intelligence and some business background and acclimate needs to go there and sit there and run for that spot. Okay, to sit there and bring some common sense into the village of Palmetto Bay, because there's no common sense now. None. Zero. Because we're getting screwed. The residents of Palmetto Bay are getting screwed every time they sit down and they start spending our money. Because nobody asked any questions on this budget. Zero. And that's it for me today. I've run out of time. I've run out of patience. Next week, we'll get those videos up with Karen Cunningham because they're really funny, actually. She says one thing, and then I can go back and I can prove that she's basically lying. That's it today. Love everybody. Thanks for watching the show. Please do me a favor. If you're watching the show, send this out to residents. The residents need to know what's going on. And I know all the residents have a life. They have a family. They, when they come home from work, they're probably really tired, and they don't want to deal with this nonsense. So I get that. Everybody has a life. Nobody can be as invested in the village, what's going on, as I am, okay, right now, or some other people that are running, or people who watch out. There's a lot of people vested in the village, but not everybody can be as vested as we are. Okay, but you got to get this information out. You got to disseminate this information. You have to, because people have to know. Because in 4 years, if you think it's a mess after 2 years or 3 years, can you imagine in 4 years what we're going to be paying in taxes, and what we're and how big they'll be able to sit there and balloon this government? If you care anything about the village, anything, please send this video out. Tell people, just give me a little patience to watch this video. A little patience goes a long way, and we can work to turn this village around, because right now it is a complete, utter disaster. And I really appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.